Welcome, bros, to the new Millennium podcast. I am your host, Brian Millman, and bro, I just gotta tell you. I can tell that I don't do these podcasts enough. I can tell that I don't put these out on a consistent enough basis because when I do my intro, like I have to do it like 4 or 5 times now. I get tongue tied on my own intro. I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe it's too much weed. Maybe I'm just too freaking high. But um, I don't see that changing anytime soon. So let's just move along with the show, bros. Today's guest I have none other than Akira Wilcox from AOA. All Out Action, of course, ran by Z Ice over on the JNW Boss channel. You guys got to check those guys out. Definitely so much cool things going on in the world of AOA. They're actually coming up on their 40th episode, which I'm really looking forward to, bros. Actually got tickets and I'm going to be right there in the audience. So I bet you didn't know that. But Miss Wilcox is definitely a cool superstar. She's got a very interesting life. She's got a very interesting perspective on, you know, just the her placement in XTV and NXTV, and she even talks about AOA and being one of the only few women in an AOA locker room. Amongst the land of all men. Pretty much predominantly. She talks about that, bro. She talks about her experience with Cassidy at Worlds Collide. She talks about um, all kinds of things, bro. Being in NXTV, getting called in NXTV, and a whole lot of things that you probably didn't know. I know I didn't know about it. This is my first time actually meeting Miss Wilcox. We sat in the back stage area in the green room, of course, bro, and yeah, we just chopped it up for about 45 minutes. It was actually at a NXTV taping that was going on, so that was actually pretty cool. She had just got finished doing a I think it was a backstage promo or something like that, bro. And yeah, we got a chance to chop it up. Really nice lady, bro. So you're gonna hear it right now once I shut the hell up, bros. Here is Miss Wilcox. Alright, bro, so here we are. This is really exciting for me, bro. I have none other than Miss Wilcox sitting in front of me. Yes. Very nice to have you. Thank you, Millennium. It's very nice to be here on my first podcast. Yeah, this is great, bro. Something different, and because usually, like, I would go into, these things, these situations, like at least knowing the person who I'm interviewing. So it's different, just having a complete stranger. But at the same time, like what I try to go for here on the New Millennium podcast, which is stars who kind of are raising eyebrows, and I think that that's definitely that you definitely fit. You definitely fit the bill for that, bro. Oh, well, thank you, bro. So, I was wondering, for starters, just to get the audience, who probably are not that familiar with you. I don't know why they wouldn't be. If they are fans of, XTV, then they know about your work in NXTV, and they for certainly know about where you came from in AOA. But, you know, for people who don't really know about, like your early career, just give us a little bit about your background, if you would, please. Well, I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, and I first got into wrestling when I was a child. And what would happen was my mother would take my sister and I to see the matches. Uh, Anytime we do good in school, And my mother had told us, if we continue to get good grades, that she'd take us to see the matches. And I was immediately fascinated with just all the big men and just the, toughness and the bright, well, it wasn't bright lights, but it was certainly fancy for my taste at the time. And it's something that I had never really seen before. And I guess like kind of give us like a time period. Well, I don't want to give away my age, but let's just say I was a very little girl. All right, and then, fair enough. So I was so in love with wrestling, and what I wanted to do more than anything, I told my mother, was wrestle, and she would not have any part of it. And I was determined as a young little girl to be a wrestler, and I tried to go, I found a wrestling school, and I went up to the coach, and I couldn't have been no more than 11 or 12 years old. And I told him that I'm here to train, to be a wrestler. I want to go to your school. And he looked at me and he sized me up and down and told me, little girl, this is not a place for children. And you come back when you get about, proper age. And I was let down. I just hated being a child. I was always like that, Millennium. I could not stand being too small. I was the smallest of all of my siblings. I was the baby. And I just absolutely hated it. It seemed like everywhere I turned, people were telling me I was too little or too, not big enough for this, or couldn't, get on the rides because I hadn't grown enough. And it was always wait till you get older. And I left that place sobbing and all this. And I go home crying, and my mother say, well, what you up there crying for? And I broke down and told her I was out trying to be a wrestler. And she tore into me and made me cry even more, Millennium, telling me that girls have no place in wrestling, and I need to want to be a model and different things like her, because my mother was a very successful supermodel. Was she, bro? Yeah, she really was. Here's a picture of her right here. She's gone left us now. Oh, she's beautiful, bro. Thank you. And that's what happened. She just tore into me, and I just had, I was just filled with emotion. I had just been overcome with emotion, and she put it in my head that, wrestling, had no place in a woman's life, and I need to just move on. And years passed by, and I messed around and got married at a real early age, and I got pregnant, and I had a son, and life took on that road, and I had a terrible, terrible divorce with my first husband, and it was just a big, big mess. And once that got behind me, I just got that itch, got that bug again to want to, become a wrestler. And that's what I went on out. I found me a wrestling school over in Memphis, and I was trained at the Wrestling Academy over there by Randy Moore. Oh, really, bro? Randy, our referee. That's right. And that's what I said to him. I gave him the biggest hug, because I was like, my trainer is now working together with me. That's awesome, bro. It's like it was destined. Absolutely. But there's more to this. Now, you're not going to believe this. So Randy trained me, and because he wanted to be a wrestler, but he didn't quite make it as far as he'd like to, and he just took that alternative into refereeing. And I continued to train there. And then what I do once I got better is I went to this school over in Florida, and it was actually ran by Sister Loretta. Sister Loretta had a school, bro. She sure did, and she was tough. Now, she was tough on the men, but she was even much tougher on the ladies. And she didn't like me for whatever. She thought that I was just running around and wanting to party and wasn't really into the craft. And that could not be the furthest thing from the truth. And I always wanted to show her that I was good and that I was in here to, earn my keep fair and square, and to be one of the toughest, meanest female fighters that the world has ever seen. And immediately she did not like me, and she sent me off. I had the feeling that woman didn't like me, and she sent me off to Japan. And she sent me to wrestle there, and that's where I got, it turned out to be, a real blessing in disguise, because that's where I got a whole lot of know-how and skill from wrestling in Japan. And so I'd wrestle there because I would do like little tours in the school. Once you got like to a certain required skill set, then they'd send you over to Japan, and you go over there, and you get booked in shows, and you make a little money, and you do your rounds. But it was a completely different culture, and it shocked me. Remember, I'm from Birmingham, so I don't know anything about the Japanese culture, and neither did she, and nobody knows what's going on, but we get by because you run into people who, know people. Exactly, bro. And then I come back, and I just end up getting told that I'm no longer in the school anymore. And because Sister Loretta thought that I was just too much of a party animal and all this stuff, and she used her stroke and got me kicked out of the school. And so I traveled back to Pee Wee school, and he got me some work. And you're going to love this. This is what I was talking about. But he got me some work with Mr. Pac-Man. Wow, really, bro? So you've sort of been like, joined at the hip with XTV, for years without even knowing it. Because Mr. Pac-Man was, he was doing his managing thing in different territories at the time. And he had managed me, and that's how we got to know each other. But we didn't work together for a long time because I got injured, and I had to stop wrestling. Oh, that must have been a bummer, bro. It was a terrible blow, because once I got with Mr. Pac-Man, he really made me feel like, this is it. This is the big break that I've always dreamed of. And that wasn't the case, because I got hurt in the matchup.
Hey, Bobby, you want to see my pussy willow? You're the kind of broad that's just gagging for goods. You get so wet when I show you my toots. When you come water flows, I'm coming for you. I'll sniff this, but you've got to wheel it, sing a little bit. Wheel it, sing a little bit. I'm gonna get in my car. I'm gonna need a phone. Gonna take off my bra. I wanna fuck right down where you are. I'm gonna get in my car. I'm gonna need a phone. Gonna take off my bra. I wanna fuck right down where you are. So So lift me up. Real love. So lift me up. Real love. You wanna see what's in my pants?
What was your name at the time, or did you always go by Akira Wilcox? No, actually, I went by Akira Martell. Oh, okay, that's cool, bro. I was Akira Martell, but it was short-lived, and I believe that it was something that Mr. Pac-Man was trying to get off the ground for himself, or something like that, or he had some people that he knew or some affiliates or associates, and he was trying to get his own company off the ground. But I don't think that really worked out very well. And after that, I actually got into contact with another friend who goes by the name of Destry Talton. Destry Talton, but I was helped by none other than Destry Talton, who was just an old friend of mine. And because once we started doing rounds with, once I started to being managed by Mr. Pac-Man, you know, he knew a whole bunch of people on the underground, and you know, here and there, and he'd been negotiating, and that's how you meet people. You'd be surprised who knows who. Well, I guess you would imagine so. I mean, you know, all these different stars, you know, being up on community creations. Not even community creations. Not even that. You'd just be surprised. Okay, bro. So I got a job. Destry, he helped me look into being as a part of AOA. And it was myself and it was Angelina. Right, bro. And we were pretty much the main women who were, you know, the forefront of all out action, or at least that's how I seen it. Now you ask somebody else and they might tell you another story about who was the dominant woman. But AOA, as I soon found out, was a land of giants and a land that was predominantly run by men. There wasn't many of us girls there. Now I did have the fortune of working with ladies like Lita and Trish, and I absolutely adored them and loved working with them because they really helped us. They really helped me refine my skills. And those ladies were there to help take us to the next level. Right. I believe, at least from my memory of watching AOA, like I would see Trish Stratus, and she was the AOA Women's Champion like for quite some time. Yes. And during that time, you know, I was chomping at the bit, and I was very upset because I felt like Angelina was getting more attention than I. And I started to feel like after a while that I didn't matter anymore to this company. I felt that old feeling again of just maybe not being big enough or maybe not being whatever enough to be able to be with these people and show that I'm as good, and I didn't know what to do. I just felt like, it was just not an environment that I was going to really be able to thrive in. And that's what I was being told, and I was starting to believe it. Who's telling you these types of things? Well, I'm not going to rat anybody out, but just, you hear the talk in the locker rooms, and sometimes it's not directed directly at you, but they're talking about you when you're the one of the only ones that's sitting backstage every week, not getting booked, and things of that nature, things that a car would go through, right? It's interesting though, bro, because it's like I really haven't heard really that type of talk until like nowadays. Guys not getting used, like that was just never a thing in XTV. Like if you weren't on a show, you just weren't on a show, bro, and you were doing something else. Like you found something else to do, and it just seems like, I don't know, it just seems like that's the end all be all nowadays. Well, when you were told that you were going to be this and that, and you were, you signed your name on the dotted line to be in a company, you expect to be utilized. And I just was not utilized, I feel. And I spoke up about it. And I said, you know what, Z Ice? Now, either you're going to start using me, or I can find myself some work elsewhere. And I told him, I know that you're a respectable man and that you're really nice and all that, and I really enjoy working for you, but I feel like I'm not being treated fairly, and I want to push. And he told me that he was going to try and all these things, and he was going to, see what he can do. And I really truly believe he did try. I really truly believe he did, because he started to bring out, the women's division. He started to expand us, and I think that he had, big ideas for the women, but I think that also he just got into a scenario once AOA and NXTV started working together. I think that the women's division just really became on the back burner, just in my opinion, because it was right before this Worlds Collide thing happened, when it was right before then that, I had confronted him. And he told me, Akira, I'm going to try to work on this. And he told me he was sorry. And, because, he saw how sincere I really was. And I was absolutely sincere. I told him how I felt about Angelina, and she's getting more, showtime than me. And I said, what, do you want me to put paint on my face? Or do I have to dress up as the boogeyman to get somebody's attention around here? And, he assured me that, he was going to make it right. He assured me that he would make it right. And, he did try, but I didn't see what he had in mind, because once he abolished the women's division, I thought that, that was it. Well, I mean, before that even happened, though, I mean, you were actually in the Worlds Collide match. Well, yeah, I left that part out because right then and there, in fact, maybe it was there, or maybe it was another meeting that he had. I think it was another meeting, and he called me in about a week later, and he told me about his big plan that he was going to use Angelina and I, and that he would send have us be in matches. So yes, that is true. But he also announced on television that he was going to be doing away with the women's division after, was it Worlds Collide, or I believe it was after Worlds Collide. And I was just heartbroken because I hadn't known that they were going to move us over because I hadn't signed any contracts or anything of that nature. So this all came as a surprise to you. Like, you didn't even know that you were going to be in XTV. I had no knowledge of it whatsoever. It came as a surprise. In fact, I received a phone call from I can't remember what the sweet lady name was, but I received a phone call from a young lady, or a lady, and she asked me when I'd be available to come in and talk about a position in NXTV.
Dear Daddy, what should I do? I wrote this letter to you. I know you'll tell me the truth in the weekly world. No. To you, I know you'll tell the truth in the weekly world now. I'm married, dad, my mom playing. Don't do my some sort of chat. Daddy, I just gotta know. Should I stay with Daddy or should I go? Should I do? I wrote this letter to you. I know you'll tell me the truth in the weekly world.
Before we get to NXT, though, I mean, what was the relationship like between you and Angelina? Because I mean, it's like you said. I mean, she was on TV, and maybe you would be in the back, and wishing that you would be in that spot or having the title match or whatever. I mean, she did become the AOA Women's Champion. So saying that and being put on the back burner, how did that make you feel, or what were you feeling when you watched that? I felt very bitter. I felt very bitter but also very happy the fact that she had, won it from Trish, and the fact that she was able to, kind of, because although Lita and Trish, we love them and they are AOA stars, you know, we're we were originals. We're homegrown. Myself and Angelina. So there was just not really a bunch of communication between us. Not at all. In fact, anytime, I might have had to say anything to her, or if she had to say anything to me, just because maybe we were working together, there was always tension. There was always tension, and I just rather not even deal with her. And it's crazy though. Like now you end up, with each other here in NXTV. I know it's like she's just like this demon that won't go away type of thing. I just don't understand it. It's like she's being there. And, honestly, I would feel like if she wasn't there, that I would be the one. Do you know what I'm saying, Millennium? Sure, bro. That I would be the one. That I would be the AOA Women's Champion. That I would be the one, in these matches against Lita and Trish, or at least, in the big title match and winning the title. But for some reason, they chose her. But I mean, it's like you were saying though, there at Worlds Collide. I mean, you got chosen to pick to fight up against Cassidy. Well, to be honest, working with Cassidy was something that I looked at as an opportunity, but also it was me saying to myself, I'm going to show this girl. We took it as a real competition. And I think that Angelina and I kind of, had each other's back somewhat, because here's this other company who's got all these different women, and it's just us. When it came down to it, we knew that. We knew that Lita and Trish weren't going to be involved in this, and that it was going to come down to us originals. And it was two of us and all of them. And we didn't know what to expect. And, how was it though? Like, working with XTV people. Well, to my surprise, a lot of people were very nice. And I think that it was just as much a surprise on their side as it was on our side. Because, I think that they took it very serious as well as far as, who are these people. It was, Z Ice and Terry Williams and, the big wigs who were making all these decisions on who's going to fight who and all these things. And I think that they ended up throwing a big party and, tying loose ends or whatever the case, making amends. And, welcoming each other as family for the most part. And I was a part of that. And that was nice. That's actually really cool, bro. So I mean, there was peace for the most part. There were guys who, like I could say, on the NXTV side, those NWN and King Kong and those guys, they would grab Nate and Dwayne, and they would run off and be somewhere else. I did notice that they didn't mingle with all the other guys. They would just pull them to the side and they would do their own thing. And I believe that was, but they would get their little clique and run off. And I remember them never being with us and never being with the guys. And there was tension. There was a real tension between the two J's, Jay Morgan and Jay Money. And there was real tension because there was, I guess, a girl involved. And it was, people were trying to figure if that was a shooter or work. And there was real drama behind that. And so, yeah, mixing the two companies together definitely it definitely made for some interesting conversations. It definitely had some interesting elements. Indeed, bro. I mean, it's crazy, like from a fan standpoint to, see all this stuff unfold, before us, on the weekly programming, but for you guys, to have to adjust into this thing and, be a part of it. So, I mean, like, as far as you, though, and Cassidy, because, I mean, that's who you ended up working with, like, what was that like? Like, was she, bitchy towards you, or, she was more so just, she'd do her stuff, and if we had to do something together, she would just do it. But she wasn't very engaging, at least to me, in my opinion. She would do her work, and she would, if we had a pre-tape together, we'd do the pre-tape, but she wasn't really, trying to become friends or anything like that. I think she had her clique. And that's what I mean, certain people just weren't as open and warm as others, I can say, and that's how I felt about her. But contrarily, the girl that Angelina worked with was really nice, and I forget her name. I've seen her backstage. I think she worked with Jacqueline Briggs. That's it. She worked with Jacqueline Briggs, and she was real nice. I remember her very well, and she came up and she introduced herself to everyone, and she was actually one of the ones who introduced herself to me when I first stepped foot in NXTV. It's interesting too that that you are in NXTV, because one of the things that people don't point out is because I mean you did come in before Angelina. Like, I guess that you guys, I'm not sure when you guys signed your contracts or whatever, but like I think on the Worlds Collide pay-per-view, it was announced that you and Angelina would be coming over to NXTV, but you were the one to make your appearance first. You came in, and what I was getting to, what the point is that it's like you made history. You're the first ever woman from another company to come in and play a XTV role. Like I don't think that that's ever happened. You know, an outside company's character coming in and being a character here on this platform. Well, yes, I've never even thought of that. That is, I guess that is an honor to be the first of a kind, and I guess really they have all kinds of women now from outside companies. I don't even know where half of these women are from. Well, that's the thing, though. Is like, a lot of times here in XTV, you know, maybe an outsider will come in, like, somebody like Ryu, like he's, from somewhere else completely different, or Jackie Briggs even, but well, Jackie's probably not a great example because she has a big role, but like that's what I mean, like an outsider coming in and having like speaking roles, bro. That's what I mean, like, because I think that that's like the next level on TV, or on the weekly shows is like, you know, that's the next level of character developing. If the star's not already there yet, if the star's not there in the ring, or if they are there in the ring, then the next level is to start getting them to cut promos and get them involved in stories, and having these back and forth type of scenarios with different stars. Well, actually, when I first had my first meeting, I came in and I sat down with Terry Williams, and he gave me the whole rundown of what he wanted me to do, and he told me that I just had to sit tight. He told me that he had talked to Z Ice, and they talked because he knew that I was upset with my positioning in AOA, and that Z Ice had told him all about how I felt, and he wanted to make sure that I didn't feel that way here in NXTV. And he told me that it was going to take a few months before the ball got rolling, but he told me he laid out all these different plans of different scenarios that I could be in and different stores and all these fun ideas, and how he wanted me to get Carolyn Amber over, who was another girl who's from AOA, and I think she came a little later. Or no, she was already here. That's what it was. Carolyn was already here, and she was down on the proving grounds. That's right, bro. Yeah, she was on the proving grounds, and that's what the idea was. And I was caught by surprise because I thought that I was called over here to wrestle, but Carolyn is a rookie, and she picks up really fast. And I think that she's one of the bright young stars. I was just at a signing with her recently, and really at all the locations. Fans really react to her, and yeah, I can say that. So how's that relationship been then? Like, with you and NXTV and everything. It's been real good. I've had I've had the most fun that I've had in a long time here and doing these different things. Because I'm just involved in so much stuff, and I can be myself. I can just really, get crazy and get wild and wicked with different things. And that's really been a blast for me because, all the different people that I've worked with, and it really has, I'm happy to have a major role. It's weird. I was just recently talking to Carmen and Tyrone Andre, and I feel like like both of you ladies were sort of like in the same position, but like on opposite shows, and then all you needed to do was just swap. It was almost like a superstar trade. It's like Carmen goes, and works with AOA slash AOR, and then you come over here and work with XTV slash NXTV, and boom, you both just, end up in these, great positions, telling these great stories. I mean, like, why do you think it worked out that way? Maybe it was, I think sometimes things probably do need to be shaken up and mixed up, and AOA is still my home. I'm never going to say that AOA is not my home because I'm AOA born, AOA bred, and I'll be AOA till I'm AOA dead. So, but NXTV has just provided the opportunity for me to, showcase my skills, more. And I'm hoping that when I go back to NXTV, or sorry, back to AOA, which I have been more, and they're actually bringing back the women's division. And myself and Angelina are back. So hopefully, I'm in more of a prominent role. And I think that that'll be thanks to, what I was able to show him over here in NXTV. That's awesome, bro. I really hope that that things do work out for you over at AOA. Um, Now, like when you did come to XTV, you know, you didn't come as you were. Like, in fact, I've even heard that people didn't know who you were. Not only did they change your name, well, I mean, you were already, I guess, Miss Wilcox, but they called you Akira Wilcox over in AOA, and then you come to XTV and you're Miss Wilcox. But not only that, but I mean, you got like a complete makeover. So I mean, like, what was the thought process behind that? It was something that again took me by surprise. I was shocked that they would want me to, and this was something that Terry had, discussed with me when I talked to him. It was one of the first conversations that we had, and it was something that I had to take my time with and think about because it, did involve my body. And I had been, a real slim girl and, real small my whole life. And, I never thought about, such a thing. But Terry told me that he felt like if in order for me to stand out and in order for me to catch eyes, that he thought that I should have certain enhancements. And so, it was something that I really was not comfortable with because I did not want them to, take away my essence. As far as, who I am and, how I present myself. I did not want that to be taken away. And they just assured me that, they're not going to, they assured me that it was for what was best for my character. And I said, well, what the hell? It's a whole, I just said, this is a new venture and let's just see what happens. And so, yeah, you know, I got new breasts and I got a new butt and my hips spread out and different things like that. And the whole purpose, I was told, for that is because, of course, you see my over-the-top character on television who's based off of the late sensational Sherry. And she's a woman who I personally look up to. And it was an honor, for them to put me in the same vein as such a legendary character. And so that's what they thought. That's what they were going for with my look, and they changed up my hair, and they gave me all these different hairstyles and hair types, and I was just afraid that nobody was going to know who I was, and they assured me that they would know who I was, and I just went with it, and yeah, I'm glad I did. And it seems like people have definitely responded to you. Like, I mean, since the first moment you made your appearance on TV, I'm always hearing about you, and I've even heard that you're some people's favorites on the West Side, and that's a pretty big deal. Here in XTV, you are a XTV East Coast star, of course, but the West Coast are like the sort of the end all be all judges on stars, and who's over, who's getting over, who's not over, and who doesn't have a chance, and different things like that. And you're definitely one of the names that's buzzing. So keep that up. It'll definitely be cool to see you on an episode of the Creation Suite. A lot of stars get shine over there. Well, whatever XTV has for me, I think is more than a blessing, if I could say, because I never thought that I would be in another company and, just doing these different things. And then, the way AOA wants us back, it makes me feel like they've got faith in us. And not that they never didn't have faith in us before, but it makes me feel good that, you know, um, I can be working with two companies and, maybe have two women's titles. It's a huge possibility. Just as we're wrapping up here, I wanted to know, like, you know, because everybody, I think, out of all the craziness that you've been involved with thus far, in your short time in NXTV, I think the craziest few was, a person that you alluded to earlier was Mr. Pac-Man. How do you feel about, you know, the matchup that you guys had, and just kind of take us through the whole process? Because I mean, that was something like completely different and outside of, outside the norm. Like, it was one of those things that we don't always know how it could be pulled off. It's just an idea, and it gets put out, and it's like you load the wagon and forget about the horse type of deal. So I mean, what was that like, and what was the process, for you? Well, it was actually a lot of fun. It was not hard work at all. In fact, Mr. Pac-Man suggested that we just, and I'm not even sure everything that we did up to the match. And I'm not sure. I think he did something. I'm starting to remember. I think Angelina came up and spit in Carolyn's face. Yeah, so we did some things, but that was the easy part. The hard part, I felt like, was how in the world are we going to get to fight each other? But once he got into that yellow suit and he came out, I thought it was perfect. And we just went out and we just beat the living crap out of each other. And that has been my favorite match here in I think that's my only match. No wonder it's my favorite. That's been the best thing that I've done here, was wrestling up against him, my former manager, Mr. Pac-Man, from all those years ago. But that was just a blast. And that right there, that feud was, some to I guess just get me back in the ring again. Um, because I had my in ring gear and I had my manager gear, and I would just be changing my manager gear all the time, and I just had my in ring gear just waiting to use it, and I finally had the opportunity. But I don't even think that at that event, I don't even think that I'd use the in ring gear that I had. I think I made something special just for that night. But it was fun. It sure was. And Mr. Pac-Man, I love him, and I love his wife. It was crazy. They were, in fact, they wanted. There was different scenarios to play out, and they just told us to go out and have a bunch of fun with that match. They said to do whatever we wanted, however we wanted for the scenario to go. We could do it because I mean it was just a fun story and just something for the fans to just laugh at. And one of the things that we were going to do was we were going to have actually we were going to do one of three things. Now we had how it did turn out. I just beat him, and then we move on. And I think that that's what we probably just move on here. I think that we were both made managers after that. But one of the scenarios was that he actually pinned me, and I lose. But he wanted me to come out shining. And then another scenario was that, we start beating on each other and we just beat each other till we can't fight no more. And then we just end up making out and kissing, and he fall in love with me. But he backed out of that because he is married and he didn't want any problems with the missus. But I think she understands that that's just television. I think she would too, bro. I mean, but Miss Pac-Man is pretty rowdy, But I think that, I think everybody sees what Mr. Pac-Man's doing on TV, and, they appreciate the character. Yes. Well, that was absolutely awesome. I really appreciate you for being here with me, Miss Wilcox. Anytime, Millennium. This was definitely a whole lot of fun. This was a great experience. I've never done one of these. Well, that's what we do here. We break the latest and greatest new stars here on NXTV. Thank you, bro. All right, bro. So there it is, my interview with none other than Miss Wilcox, the one and only, man. I mean, I just love it, bro. I mean, if I could just, interview all NXTV stars, like that's what I would do, bro. But those stars are, they're still learning their craft, and it's really interesting to me, the fact that, Miss Wilcox is in NXTV and not XTV. Like it's weird, like, cause I know how XTV is, bro. I know how XTV thinks, and it's like, why wouldn't they just bring in Miss Wilcox for XTV and bring in Angelina for NXTV? You know what I mean? And then you got two different girls on two different shows. But of course, it's like she said. I guess it worked out the way it was supposed to, because they ended up getting called back to AOA. So that's absolutely awesome. That's great for us, the people who enjoy watching them. That means that we get double the fun of Angelina and Akira Wilcox, both on NXTV and AOA. And, of course, you never know who might pop up right here on the New Millennium podcast. So thank you, bros, for tuning in to yet another episode. Hope you enjoyed it a whole lot. I definitely got a whole lot of great feedback off of Tyrone and Carmen. And looks like, Tyrone has raised some eyebrows, has since become the NXTV heavyweight champion. How long is he going to be able to keep that up? And, he definitely ruffled some feathers with the killer. So I think that that's definitely something that's probably going to come up. Not so much Bob, because Bob thinks that he can beat everybody, bro. But, we could possibly see that too, bro. I don't know, bro. Until next time, in the meantime and in between time, I am Brian Millman with another new Millennium podcast, and I want to thank you once again for tuning in. And until next time, bros. Chill!